Hey everybody, it's Cindy here, and welcome to another episode of the Life Makeovers podcast. I am so glad that you're here. I went against the grain a little bit with my latest episode 2 days ago because I had as my guest my daughter. Yes, my daughter. I have a daughter and a son who are both young adults, and then I have bonus children also through my relationship, my midlife love relationship that I am engaged to be married, in case y'all don't know that. But anyway, um, my daughter, I had her on because we have had discussions before with my audiences regarding the empty nest. And I know that's an issue that comes up a lot for people in midlife. And so I thought it would be really cool to have a young adult's perspective on dealing with that as well, and dealing with parents who are dealing with that, and give insights from her perspective or her generation's perspective. So if you're interested in that, head back to Wednesday's episode. I think it's episode number 11, actually. But here are some of the highlights of our discussion. So one of the things that we talked a lot about was communication, communicating about, what everybody needs now, that, you as a young adult child are out of the house. What do you need? Parents, what do you need to feel, to feel comfortable or to transition well into empty nest stuff or whatever. But to really do the best to keep the communication open, but also have balance in that communication. In other words, make sure that you're giving your adult kids some space to sort of figure out their lives now too, because it's a transition for both of you, and they have a lot of newness to soak in, new routines, maybe new locations, new responsibilities, new friends, new community, whatever it is that they're going through. And they need time to kind of soak it in. And so, like I shared, I had a girlfriend whose mother called her 15 times a day when she, I mean, we love our kids, but ooh, right? So anyway, find your new balance. Find your new balance and be sure and talk about what you each need. And then always keep that door open to be a consultant to your young adult kids. She was talking about how nice it is to be able to come to me as a parent when she has questions or concerns in her life or just needs to talk through it, but she doesn't always want advice. It's not necessarily what she's coming for. And so I was so happy she remembered and recalled that I do usually say to my kids when they bring something, I say, do you just want me to listen, or do you want to know what I think about this? And so be careful not to bestow your wisdom upon your young adult children unless they're really inviting you to do so, or unless you really feel like they are in a crisis or something. Because part of what their path is to figure out how to manage their lives and how to be responsible for themselves. And if we're always jumping in and rescuing, we're really depriving them of the experience of adulthood, which part of the experience of adulthood, which is figuring yourself out, figuring your life out. Another thing she recommended was starting earlier than the day the kids move out or drop off day or whatever, to start transitioning both of you. So in other words, to maybe as they get to be older kids at home, junior, middle school, then they're in high school. High school, give them a little bit more freedom, more responsibilities. So they're transitioning into from you managing their lives to them starting to manage their lives and themselves. And also giving yourself more freedom in your life, less hands-on involvement in their life. So you feel like you have a life too. So when they leave, you're not like devastated because your whole life is gone. And also they're not lost because they've never had to, wash their clothes or cook a meal for themselves or write a check, or, well, nobody writes checks anymore, hardly, but you know what I'm saying, pay a bill or whatever. So start that transition earlier than right in the last day, week, month. she pointed out something I thought was so good. And she said, and I hadn't really thought of it, I don't think, but she said, young adults want to feel trusted by their parents. And it's like, wow, that is so good to hear. Like, of course they do. They want us to respect them. They want us to trust them that they've got this and that we can count on them to do what they say they're going to do, and that they will figure out what's best for them, and so on and so forth, that they know their plans are important and we don't necessarily know what's best for their lives and so forth. We talked about when kids come back, come back to live again, whether it's just for a summer in between college years or whether it's in between jobs or experiences or whatever. And when they stay for an extended period of time. And she said that it's important to set up dynamics so you don't revert back to just being child and parent so much, but rather adults who are housemates, roommates, whatever, and to clarify expectations ahead of time so no one's surprised when. So if your kids are coming back home to live for an extended period of time, you want, before they do it, you might say, well, these are the financial expectations. These are, if you want them to pay rent, for example, or if you want them to help cook the meals, or mow the lawn, or whatever you're wanting from them, make sure you clarify that ahead of time and talk about it and give them a chance to agree to it or not before they move in. Excuse me. And then to recognize that, there are traditions you raise the kids with, likely maybe holiday traditions, maybe religious upbringing, who knows what all. Maybe there's a family business you assumed your child would pick up the reins and take, but they need to make their own traditions, and they need to decide what their holidays are going to look like now, and they need to decide what their careers are going to be, or whatever their life is going to be. And it may not be what your vision was for your child. And that when they make decisions that you don't like, or they discover things about themselves that you never anticipated or you don't understand. For example, my daughter is gay, so she used that as an example because she knows a lot of families who really get tripped up when they realize their child is gay, which was not our situation, but it is for many people, and I understand that. But anyway, she said that whatever your kids decide to do or realize about themselves, or the paths they take in their lives, to not make it mean something about you in your head, like, oh, what did I do wrong that now my children don't go to church? Or what did I do wrong now that my child is gay, or I raised them this political party and now they're in that political party? Or I always thought they do the family business and now they're on a backpacking trip around Europe for a year. Whatever it is, you don't need to make it mean something about you as a parent. It's about them and their journey of figuring out who they are, what they want, what they need, where they're going, what they're doing, who they really, really are. So really keep that in mind and stay interested in who they are becoming. Stay interested in their lives, but not interrogate them about their lives. There's a nice balance around that, I think. And for everybody, it might be a little different, but always check in, be interested. What are you finding interesting about your new job? Or how are your coworkers? Do you like them? Or what are your neighbors like in the apartment building? Or, go visit them, go to where they are. I think this is so important. Often parents I know a lot of parents who think that kids just need to come home when it's time to see each other. And of course, nothing pleases most parents more than to have their kids show up at their house. But you also want to take an interest and initiative in visiting them wherever they are, even if they're studying abroad or they live in a huge city and you're like, ugh, I've never used an Uber before, or whatever it is. You want to have a connection with your kid, go see your kid, right? Go see your kid. Don't just wait for them to come home to you or expect them to always be the ones traveling or calling or whatevering, right? So it's an adult to adult relationship, even though they're always going to be your babies and you're always going to be their parents. So and she said something super important. She said, if you don't like the choices your kids are making, maybe you don't like who they're dating, or you don't like the career they chose, or you don't understand, why they are doing this now or not doing that now. Ask yourself, is your kid happy? And if your kid is happy or they tell you they're happy, then that's all you need to know, right? You don't need to question their lives if they're really sincerely happy in their lives. It may not be, again, it may not be the life you planned for your child, but if they're happy, hey, that's fantastic. This is what we want. And I said too, something to keep in mind out there, parents, sincerely, is what do you want big picture? What do you want big picture with your kids? I'm making an assumption here that you want a lifelong relationship with your children, that that's really what you desire. And so if big picture, you want a lifelong relationship with your child or your children, then it's important to incorporate some of these things that we discussed in that podcast for sure, and find your own version of some of these things, your own version of boundaries in the relationship, your own version of balance in the relationship, your own version of communication and involvement in the relationship. Because again, it's going to be different for different people. So, and it evolves over time is certainly what I found with my kids. I mean, she's been out of high school 8.5 years, my son 7.5. And we have different relationships. We have different styles of communication. She and I have one style, he and I have one style. And our relationships have evolved over the years. It's changed over the years. So it's, my life's changed a lot, as she indicated, as well as hers and my son's also. And then, like I said, I have a whole bonus family of children that I communicate with regularly too, and go see, and they come here, and, they're my family too. So navigating a lot of young adults' lives in my relationships with them, and really striving to be a respectful adult parental figure in their lives, and all the while delighting in watching them evolve. That's the other thing, is please don't miss out on the fun of watching them evolve over time and become these people. When they were your babies in your arms, or your toddlers, or your little elementary school students, you had no idea what their lives would be like. And now you are starting to see it in this phase. So this is exciting. It's delightful. It's interesting. Wow, they like that. Oh, they want to live there. Oh, they're passionate about this. What? Okay. Wow, that's interesting. How did that happen? How did that happen? But it can be really, really delightful and fun. So don't miss out. And if you're married to your children's father, or even if you're not, if you're, you find yourself with an empty nest, and you're married and you're there with your spouse or partner, no matter what the situation is, really enjoy the freedom of that. You suddenly have space and time that you haven't had all these years raising kids, right, in your relationships. And so enjoy that as well. Really don't miss out on that. As I believe Laura indicated in our interview, the young adult kids, they want to know that we're happy and healthy, that we're thriving in our lives. They don't want to think we're curled up in a ball in the corner, missing them. Okay. So if you are curled up in a ball, missing them, don't tell them that. And find a great life for yourself too. So anyway, thank you, Laura Whitmer. Oh, thank you so much for your time and your insight and your wisdom and your love, and for being one of my, my greatest blessings in my life. And I'm sure you have served other people in your in your sharing. So thanks again so much. And thank you, listeners, for being here. If you're enjoying the Life Makeovers podcast, please share it with a friend, a colleague, a family member. Let them know what's going on here. We are having some great conversations and navigating all of life's many challenges and blessings. And if I can be of greater service to you, please check everything out at cindydwhitmer.com. I encourage you to get my free exclusive guide called It's Your Time, How to Start Loving Yourself Unapologetically Today. And you'll find that at cindydwhitmer.com. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will talk to you again soon.